Good evening and salutations, my GH fans. Let's start with Anna and Finn. So Finn tells Anna everything: the affair with Jackie, the real reason why he pushed his father Gregory away. I couldn't remember his name for the life of me. The real reason why he pushed him away. It gets to a point in the conversation where Anna asks, do you think that Chase can actually be your son? And Finn is like, well, I talked to Jackie, and she said that the dates didn't really line up. And Anna was like, well, how come you never did a DNA test? And I'm like, these are legitimate questions. And I don't understand why it's just so blasé, oh, well, the dates never really lined up. Like, I'm sorry, you just took her word for it? She's literally sitting there lying to another guy. Your father. Sleeping with his son. And she's the pinnacle of truth at this point? You take her... Okay. So, at some point, the conversation gets brought up again. And I think this is Finn. It's like, Finn's Chase is my brother. They're happy, and now I understand where you're coming from, as far as not sure if you want to find out, was Peter your son or not. And I'm like, whoa. So let me get this straight. You're taking advice from Anna. You're taking advice from Anna on why you don't think it's probably a good idea if you should find out. I mean, not really taking advice, but sitting there looking at her like she's some sort of perfect example of her not being too sure if she should find out if Peter's her son or not. I was like, if anything, she should be an example of why you should find out if Chase is your son or not. Not whatever the hell that was. Wow. But yeah, and I guess the game continues until we find out, and this is just my guess, which I'm pretty sure I'm not the only person that's thinking that, is that Chase is Finn's son. Not the brother, not his older brother, his father. That's just my guess. I still can't believe he actually said that. She really shouldn't be, like... Anyway, let's go with Alexis. So, Alexis is, I guess, in the interrogation office. She calls Diane. She has a splitting headache. Diane is sitting there pacing around. Oh, you have a headache? Oh, cool. Let me just walk even louder. So at some point, she's upset with Alexis for, being behind the wheel and driving while drunk. Alexis is swearing up and down, up and down, up and down. Sam is outside talking to Chase. At some point, Sam comes in there, and, Alexis is like, you gotta believe me. I wasn't driving while I was drunk. And I was like, whoa, so let me get this straight. This whole time you've been just drinking, just whatever. It's like, I don't need y'all, whatever. Just ultimatums and I'll just have me and my alcohol and I'm fine. And now you're sitting there saying, oh, you gotta believe me on this one time. You have been lying to your family for a while about your drinking problem. And, sitting there saying it's not that bad or whatever. And now you want them to believe you? I mean, granted, when you actually are telling the truth, but still. So, Sam was like, listen, we'll get you out of jail on one condition. Well, you got to go to rehab. And Alexis is like, well, you can't force me to go to rehab. The answer is no. I'll just spend the night in jail and get bailed out tomorrow, whatever. And I'm like, here's the thing. This whole Tracy setting you up or whatever, that's a problem. But you drinking, well, that's still a problem, Like, that's still gonna be there. That's something that you gotta sit there and come to terms with and get help for. The whole Tracy setting you up thing, you can take care of that when you get out. But, it doesn't change the fact that you still need to go to rehab. But, you know what they say, you can't help somebody until they want to be helped, until they reach rock bottom, so, yeah. And, it probably just would have been a lot easier if Alexis was like, hey, listen, the reason why I'm behind here is because Tracy set me up. She set me up because, me and Ned had a one-night stand. But you know that she wasn't going to do that. But technically she could have did that, and her family would have probably been more inclined to believe her. But whatever. Let's go with Franco, Liesl, and Scotty. I know his name is Scott, but I always call him Scotty because every time I think of Laura, that's just where I go to. So they're at the hotel, and at some point the WSB agents, whatever, come in there, and they start questioning everyone. They start questioning Franco the most because he was the last person that talked to Dr. Kirk, or I think his name is Dr. Kirk. And, Franco was like, listen, I was there, we talked for a little bit, and you said you would help me, and then I left. And then, Franco's like, oh, well, I talked to Liesl, and Liesl was like, well, he went out of town or whatever. And Liesl made us some sort of BS excuse, like, oh, I don't really know him too well, yada, yada, yada. So she makes up some sort of BS excuse. And at this point, it just comes across as Franco is going to probably be the number one suspect as far as, the doctor's death. Now, while Franco was, getting dressed or whatever, Scott was worried, he was panicking, and Liesl was like, I got this, I took care of it, I took care of the body, don't worry about that. And, Liesl was like, don't panic. He was like, I'm not panicking. And he gets to the door. The door, they knock on the door, then he starts panicking. And so at this point, when they said that they found, his body or whatever, and, they're going to do an autopsy and yada, 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 I'm just like, so that was your definition of taking care of the body? Because, when I thought of taking care of the body, I thought of, a number of different ways of taking care of the body, not where people can actually find the body. I was watching that scene, I was like, oh, she took care of the body. I mean, she's smart, she got this. Yeah, we found the body. What the hell? You just said you took... Okay. So, at this point, for whatever odd reason, Liesl's like, she has to keep a low profile, but she's going to help Franco as far as, shrinking the tumor and stuff like that. And Franco doesn't want to do it because I guess if he feels that the tumor is shrunken, then he's going to revert back to, evil Franco or whatever. And, Liesl's like, I'm going to help you. Because apparently now she also specializes in, the brain. So, yeah. I mean, granted, I didn't really know a lot about Liesl's, medical history and stuff like that. I know she delivered Nell's baby, and I guess she's a regular, really good surgeon. But brain surgery or anything dealing with the brain, okay, cool. I guess they just threw that in for plot convenience. So for whatever reason, she said that she had to keep a low profile, but she'll be in contact or whatever. And I don't really understand why she has to keep a low profile. I mean, she was cleared from all those charges. The WSB didn't take her in handcuffs, so I don't really understand why she has to keep a low profile. But whatever. So back to Port Charles, back to Tracy, Olivia, and Ned. So they're talking, and at some point, Olivia gets a call, and she heads into the other room. Now, Tracy's sitting there talking to Ned, and at some point, I don't remember how, but, they're all informed that, Tracy told everyone that, Alexis was drunk driving and yada yada yada. And at this point, Ned wants to go and see her to make sure she's okay, and Tracy's like, nah, I think you did enough with her. Like, I think you really did enough with her. And Olivia comes back, and Olivia's all, like, crying and upset, and she's like, Julian's dead, and, this is gonna be, like, crazy, like, Leo's life is about to be turned upside down. And at first, when she started crying, I was like, how many times do you actually sit there and berate him? I mean, granted, I know people could sit there and argue and they could fight. Death kind of has a way of changing that, but at first I was like, why is she so much in tears? But I realized she was crying for Leo's sake. I'm pretty sure she was probably a little bit sad or whatever, but, the way she kept berating him, and at one point, she was like, oh, well, Ned is really her father. Ned is really Leo's father, and every way that counts, and yada, yada, yada. And just, really didn't want him to actually have any rights, so now she's all crying upset. I was like, would you like to play some tapes earlier when you were just, like, that version? So at some point, Olivia goes somewhere, and Tracy just confronts Ned and is like, yo, listen, I know what you did, and what you need to do now is stay away from her, be with your family, be a family man, let her dry out. Worst case scenario, she goes to rehab. I'm like, well, Tracy does have a point. Worst case scenario, she goes to rehab because she, still has a problem. At some point when Dante comes in, I don't remember what he said. I don't think he really added anything to the scene. It seemed at one point that Ned was going to confess everything, but he decided not to. I'm pretty sure he found a new way to sit there and justify his lie. I remember he was sitting there saying something, but then he was also, he said something as some sort. It's like he was going to sit there and tell the truth, but he decided not to, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. I guess we're going to carry on with that until it comes out in the open and you look like a jackass. So, TikTok. There's a lot of filler with Jackie and Robert just catching up on stuff about what's been going on with Port Charles. It's probably, as far as like the bombing and Fenn and Chase and Gregory, telling Robert that they separated and, her reasons for it, which I'm not gonna lie, I don't think that they're that much of the truth. She was in it to talk about they grew apart, they're passing like two ships in the night, and I feel like there's more to that than just, them just drifting apart. But that was pretty much about it. It was really just filler, and I guess they just needed to be there to make sure the soap opera was an hour long for some reason. Now the last scene we'll talk about is Carly and Jason. So, in the beginning, Jason pretty much just filled Carly in on everything as far as them going to, find Julian. Told him about Sonny falling over the bridge, and they decided to go, get into the SUV or whatever and go after him. Go and look for him. So, throughout the drive, Jason's sitting there filling Carly in on everything that's been going on as far as them tracking Julian down to Jersey and, going at the, getting hitman after hitman, sent after Julian. And it's just pretty much everything that happened yesterday as far as, Jason being detained, Sonny going after Julian, and that was pretty much about it. So pretty much everything that happened yesterday. Now, when they get to, I guess, the river or whatever, wherever they're at in Jersey, I guess, Jason tells Carly that, the police are looking in one area, they have people looking in another area, so we're gonna kind of just like, take our time and just comb through the area. And, Carly asks a lot of questions. And granted, at first, if somebody was new to watching the show, they would probably sit there and think this scene, Carly is being kind of like a lot, like kind of annoying. But I guess people have to understand that, she's worried about her husband. She's asking Jason a million questions, like, do you think he survived? Do you, what's the temperature of the water? Like, do you think he was able to swim out? And yada, yada, yada. And, Jason is not, like, a fortune teller, but he understands Carly. He understands that Carly is just looking for some reassurance. Jason has to kind of, and I found this scene pretty interesting, because Jason doesn't really do lying well. And so he has to kind of like think of the best case scenario for each time that, she's asking questions. Did he make it? Do you think he made it? Do you think he's a good swimmer? Yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, man, this must really suck for Jason, because on one end, he's sitting there trying to be focused, looking for his best friend slash, kind of like brother. On the other hand, he has to sit there and kind of hold Carly throughout this whole situation, so that way she doesn't freak out too much. So it's kind of a balancing act. And, yeah, I guess we're going to see on Monday, what's going to transpire with that. I say Monday because, well, tomorrow is a new episode, but it's going to be one of those holiday specials. I think it's something with Molly and TJ spend Christmas with, I can't even remember her name now. Stella. Wow. They're going to be spending the holidays with Stella and probably some other Christmas hijinks that's going to wind up happening that has nothing to do with the Sunny and Jason stuff. So, yeah. What else? Yep, that's actually about it. It's funny, I was sitting there writing a bunch of notes, and I felt like I wrote a book, and then when I started talking about it, I was like, oh, not really a lot happened. Apologies for it coming out so late, but I had to wait until 8 o'clock until it was on Hulu. I tried to watch it on YouTube, but the copies that kept playing, it was either really low, or like, it was like there was one video, it was one episode or whatever, one video, where they had like music playing over it a little bit, and they kept like trying to switch the scenes that way it wouldn't get taken down. And I was like, yeah, I can't, like, no. I'll just wait to 8 o'clock and just watch it and then just review it after. I'm good, thank you. Yeah, so with that being said, I'm gonna go. Thank you so much for watching. Be safe. Let me know what you think of, or what you thought of this whole episode, because we keep going back to, is Chase Finn's son, and I guess I'm just like, I know Finn feels bad for everything, and he doesn't want to sit there and wreck a happy home or whatever, and he doesn't want to sit there and crush, Chase, but I just feel like the scientist, the doctor in him would, that instinct would kind of just want to know, I mean, seriously, like, you just left, you walked out, and you practically had an idea that, yeah, he can possibly be your son, but you let someone else raise him his entire life, and you knew there might have been the possibility that it could have been your son. But you were just so, oh, woe is me, I feel so bad what I did to my dad, so let them just all be happy. Yeah, that's going to go over real well when the truth comes out. Have a good day or good night. Be safe. I will catch everyone in the next review.